Hey everybody, it's Austin Solomon and welcome to the Real Wausau Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about if you're thinking about becoming an agent, what are the steps to do to make that happen? So yeah, thinking about becoming an agent, this episode is for you. If the thought has crossed your mind or if you're considering it, today's episode is for you. Today we're going to talk about some common questions that you would think about when you're starting out, the specific process to obtain your license, and the day-to-day life of being an agent. All right, so you're thinking about becoming an agent. Where do you start? Do you get your license first? What if you what if you find out that you get your license but you don't like the day-to-day? So should you try it first or should you get your license? Like, where do you begin? Let me talk a little bit about the day-to-day life to see if this would help you decide if it's a good fit. One of the myths and one of the things that comes up is people form an opinion about realtors based on what they know, which is it could be TV or what they see. And a lot of times you don't see what actually like realtors do on a day-to-day basis. You just kind of you only know what you know. So let's talk about the day-to-day, what actually happens. When you start out as an agent, the hardest part is finding people to help. You might know quite a bit of people that are thinking about moving, or you might, over the course of the last few years, you might be able to recall quite a few of your friends that have moved, and you might think that, I could just help the people that I know, buy or sell. But a lot of times those people might know other people. And, when you're starting out, people don't just hire you because they know you. Obviously they want someone that's good, who knows what they're doing. So when you start, it's really difficult to get your feet going. And so you have to do a lot of sales activities and a lot of prospecting, reaching out and trying to find people to help. You can't just rely on those that you know. And you also spend a lot of time learning. You got to understand the contracts, home values, how the process works. So there's a lot of things that you spend a lot of time learning early on, just trying to figure everything out. As far as generating business goes, you might do open houses. You might have to make a lot of phone calls. You might do networking, and you really have to chase business when you start because nothing's really handed to you. There's no... if you start out on your own, there's no one that just, hands you these on a platter like, hey, here's 5 people to help sell a house, or here's 5 people to help buy a house. You really have to generate your own inquiries and people to help. For a full-time agent, or for a more seasoned agent, I should say, like for me, the day consists of most of the time what I do on a day-to-day basis is following up with buyers and sellers, preparing market analysis for homes, sending homes to buyers, showing houses, and the majority of the time spent in transaction management and servicing the people that are in the process of, buying a house and we have an accepted contract or we're selling their house. A lot of time is spent working with those people. So as you get more seasoned, you spend less time finding people to help, and more time actually helping people. So when you start, summary is when you start, you have to reach out, you have to get out there, you have to spend a lot of time trying to generate business because it doesn't come very easy. So is it a good fit for you? That's what you have to decide. You have to understand it's not like on the TV shows. For some people, I recommend, hey, just jump in, give it a shot. Maybe starting as a part-time agent is the place to start. The other thing you could do is talk to an agent to see, sit down with an agent, sit down with me, and see if it's a good fit or something that makes sense for you. If you're like, hey, I want to pursue this, the first step is obtaining the license. So if you go to, at least this pertains to Wisconsin, if you go to WRA.org, hit the education tab, and then go to licensing and licensing requirements, to which you'll see the requirements to obtain your license, which are a 72-hour course. You have to pass a state exam, and then you'll also submit an application to the DSPS. So there you go. You can see what your requirements are. Then go ahead and hit the education button, and you'll see online courses and exams. And you can scroll over to sales pre-license. Then if you click that, you'll see that there's two options for obtaining your license. They're both online. One is $325. That's fully online, and the book is digital. The other option is $325 plus whatever the cost of the physical book that gets shipped to you. So it's a 72-hour course. I did just the fully online one. No books, but either is just fine. 72 hours of video. If you do read the text and spend time in the reviewing the notes and studying, it's going to take a little bit longer than that. I would say it's about the equivalent of a 6-hour college credit course, or six credit college course, not 6 hour. It's about the equivalent of a 6 credit college course. It's broken down into sections. It's very easy to follow. Once completed, then you'll go ahead and take a state test to make sure that you understand the material and you can do the job. And you're required to get 80% correct. I believe that's what it was, 80%. It's multiple choice. It takes a few hours to take the test. It's not super it's not like, it's, if you understand the material, you're comprehending it. It's not that tricky. As long as you understand, you're grasping what's going on. Okay. Step number 2. Oh, one other thing too about obtaining that license and doing that education. A lot of that is just the education is centered around you being able to conduct, fill out the contracts and understand the relationships in real estate. It's not really, if you're super good at the course, it doesn't really mean that you're going to be good at real estate. The course is just to make sure that you can do the basic things to conduct your job and follow the rules. Okay. Step number 2 is once you pass that exam, you'll get a printout saying, hey, I passed my exam. At that point, you can find a broker. And you'll need a broker. You can't just operate with a license. You need a broker to we call it hanging your license with. And that's where you would you'd find, who do I want to work with? Which company? And so you might talk to a couple companies to see what's the best fit. Maybe you talk to me. Well, I'm not a broker, but maybe you talk to our team and our broker and see if that's a good fit. And then you get started. So that's kind of the process. First is, hey, is the day-to-day something that I really would enjoy, that I want to jump into? If so, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to get my license, take the test, and then from there you can find a broker. Some common questions that I get asked are, how much does it cost to start? It's about $500 for the licensing course, as well as the test and the application fee. And then when you so it's about $500 to get your license, and then it's, probably $800 to $900 to enroll in a local, we call it the multiple listing service. And then there's probably another $250 of miscellaneous fees. So it's really $1,500 to probably $2,000 to get started as an agent. There's obviously other things that go into it too, in starting your business, but just to get the basic stuff to get started would probably be $1,500 to $2,000. Another question I get asked a lot is, well, how much does the average realtor make? And it really varies. I would say somewhere between 40 and 50,000 is an average, not a salary, but an average amount that someone makes as an agent. As a first year agent, that number is probably much less. It might be 10 to 15,000 that you make in your first year, on average. And again, a lot of people ask, well, how much do you make when you sell a house, or when you help a buyer buy a home? And again, it really varies depending on the price point and stuff. Generally between $2,000 and $4,000 would be, just an average. So those are some common questions. So hopefully that helps. I get asked this a lot. Hey, Austin, I'm thinking about becoming an agent. Where do I start? And hopefully this podcast just breaks a little bit down about, hey, here's some things that you can think about. Here's actually what the day-to-day looks like, and the process of obtaining your license, very specific on WRA and central Wisconsin area. So hopefully that helps. Thanks again for tuning into this week. this week's episode. If you guys do have questions about becoming an agent, feel free to reach out. If there's any questions you guys have or things that you want addressed on the show, I'd love to hear feedback. If there's any questions that you think would be valuable topics, let me know. Would love to hear it. Thanks again.